There are moments in life when we face challenges that feel too heavy to share, especially with the people we care about the most. You've probably been there, sitting around the dinner table with your family asking how your day went, and you find yourself holding back a truth. It's not that you don't trust them, you just know that some burdens are yours alone to carry. But what if keeping things to yourself isn't just about protecting them? What if it's a way of protecting yourself too? You might be thinking, isn't it important to be open with the people we love? Yes, but there's wisdom in knowing when to share and when to keep certain things private. As we get older, we realize that some struggles are better managed alone or with a trusted friend. Over time, you learn to recognize what's truly necessary to share and what's better kept private so your family doesn't bear the weight of your battles. In this video, we'll explore why some things should remain between you and your thoughts. But more importantly, we'll discuss how doing so can strengthen your relationships and keep the peace. Before we dive in, hit that like button and subscribe to Stoic Narratives Official. Let's get into it. Are you ready to uncover why some secrets are best kept from your family? Stay tuned. Number 1. Why I don't want to share these things. There are moments when we choose to keep things to ourselves, not because we don't trust our family, but because we know that sharing certain struggles might only add more weight to their already full plates. A man in his 60s, having lived through ups and downs, understands the importance of shielding those closest to him from unnecessary stress. It's not about hiding the truth, it's about knowing when and what to share. Take, for instance, a man who's been facing financial difficulties. He knows that his cash flow isn't ideal and his debts are piling up, but he's actively working on a plan. There's no need to worry about his children or spouse, especially when he's got it under control. He understands the power of Stoic philosophy, focusing on what he can control and not burdening others with things that, at the moment, he is fully capable of managing on his own. As the philosopher Epicurus once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." By keeping his financial worries private, he isn't just protecting his family from stress, he's maintaining his sense of empowerment, knowing he is actively resolving the issue. The decision to keep things private can be empowering. It can often be the healthiest choice for both you and your family. Take health matters, for instance. If a man experiences a mild health concern, like a recurring cough, it's easy to panic and share it immediately with everyone around him. However, in most cases, these minor concerns don't require immediate action. He can manage the situation privately, monitoring the symptoms, adjusting his lifestyle, and only involving his family when necessary. This approach not only saves his loved ones from worrying prematurely, but it also allows him to regain control of the situation, a principle central to Stoic thinking. There's something deeply empowering about dealing with life's challenges privately. It's about owning your issues and solving them without the added pressure of external expectations or concerns. The Stoic mindset reminds us that the only thing within our control is how we respond to life's challenges. By keeping certain things to yourself, you free yourself from the burden of feeling judged or pressured, and you allow your family to focus on their well-being without carrying your weight. Have you ever found yourself holding back a personal struggle because you knew your family would only worry more than necessary? The next time you face a challenge, consider the Stoic approach. Keep it to yourself until the time is right. By doing so, you not only protect your peace of mind, but also safeguard the emotional well-being of those around you. Number 2. Financial struggles. You're actively resolving. Financial struggles can be one of the most daunting things to face, especially when you're actively working to resolve them on your own. There's a certain pride in not burdening your family with the details of your financial challenges, particularly when you're already taking steps to fix the situation. It's not about hiding the truth, but about protecting them from unnecessary worry, especially when you have a plan in place. Take a man who's recently faced unexpected medical bills. Instead of immediately burdening his children with the news, he decides to focus on what he can do, adjust his budget, cut unnecessary expenses, and speak to his insurance company to work out a payment plan. He knows that by taking control of the situation and working through it step by step, he'll be able to resolve the issue without causing a ripple effect in his family's life. Why stress them out when there's no need to? As the Stoic philosopher Seneca said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." By staying calm and managing the problem on his own terms, he's embodying the Stoic principle of taking control of what is within his power. But why do we often keep financial struggles to ourselves? Perhaps it's because we know that our loved ones don't need the extra burden, especially when they're already dealing with their own concerns. Shouldn't we be the ones protecting them? After all, you're actively working to resolve the issue, and sharing it prematurely might only create more stress than necessary. Isn't it better to show them that you have it under control instead of creating unnecessary anxiety? There's a fine line between protecting your family from worry and simply managing your finances privately. A woman might find herself in a similar situation, dealing with a dip in income after a job loss. While it's tempting to seek emotional support from her spouse, she also recognizes that telling him too early could lead to panic and stress. Instead, she focuses on updating her resume, networking, and taking on freelance work to make ends meet. She knows that once she has a concrete solution in place, she can share the news without the added tension of uncertainty. It is not the things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them, as Epicurus wisely said. By keeping these financial struggles to yourself until a resolution is in sight, you're not ignoring the issue. You're simply choosing not to overwhelm your family before you have all the facts. It's a way of taking control and showing your loved ones that you're capable of managing difficult situations without always pulling them into the storm. Isn't that a better way to handle it? How often do we find ourselves overwhelmed by financial stress, only to realize that the solution might be in our own hands? Next time you face a financial challenge, consider the Stoic approach. Manage the issue quietly, work toward a solution, and only share the burden once you have a clear path forward. This way, you protect your peace of mind and safeguard your family's emotional well-being. Number 3. Work-related stress without long-term impact. Work-related stress can feel overwhelming at times, but not every stressful situation at work will have lasting effects on your well-being. There are moments when you face pressure, tight deadlines, demanding clients, or complex projects that can push you to your limits. However, it's important to remember that these stressful periods are temporary. The key is in how you manage them, and often, the best way to handle work stress is not by sharing every detail with your family, but by focusing on what you can control. A man, for example, finds himself dealing with an intense project at work. The pressure is mounting, and there's a constant stream of tasks that seem impossible to keep up with. But instead of unloading all the frustration onto his family at home, he keeps it to himself. He knows the stress is short-lived. Once the project is completed, things will return to normal. He chooses to deal with the stress internally, finding ways to remain calm and focused. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." By controlling his thoughts and managing his emotions, he navigates the work stress without letting it affect his home life. Why does he keep it to himself? Because he understands that sharing every moment of stress with his family only serves to spread the anxiety. Wouldn't it be better to shield them from unnecessary worry? In the short term, they wouldn't be able to help, and in the long run, the work pressure will ease. So why bring them into a situation that is already temporary? By managing the stress privately, he creates a sense of control and stability at home. Similarly, a woman finds herself juggling multiple responsibilities at work, with a project that requires her full attention. The stakes are high, and while the pressure weighs on her, she remains calm. She doesn't burden her family with the stress because she knows this challenge will pass. Instead, she focuses on the task at hand, using breathing techniques and time management to stay on track. The project, though intense, is just a season. As Epicurus wisely put it, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Her ability to control her reactions allows her to weather the storm without letting it disrupt her personal life. In those moments when work feels all-consuming, how often do we find ourselves wanting to share every bit of frustration with our loved ones? But does that truly help? Instead, consider this. By keeping the stress to yourself and dealing with it effectively, you not only protect your family from unnecessary anxiety, but you also demonstrate the strength to handle challenges on your own. Isn't that something worth reflecting on the next time work stress arises? If you want to maintain peace in your personal life while navigating the ups and downs of work, remember the Stoic principle. Focus on what you can control, manage your emotions, and recognize that stress is temporary. It's in your power to handle it without letting it spill over into your family's world. After all, isn't it better to keep the storm outside while you ride out the turbulence with calm and control? Number 4. Health concerns that aren't critical. At some point, we all experience health concerns that seem to be more troubling than they are. It's easy to get caught up in the worry, especially when it comes to our well-being. But not every health issue requires an urgent response, and often, the best thing to do is to manage the concern privately and calmly, rather than sharing it with family right away. A man, for instance, notices some mild discomfort in his chest one morning. Naturally, his first thought is the worst. Could this be something serious? But after a few moments, he realizes it's more likely just stress or muscle tension. Still, the concern lingers. Rather than alarming his family with his worries, he decides to wait and monitor the situation. A couple of days later, the discomfort subsides. If he had rushed to share it, his family would have been unnecessarily frightened for something that, in hindsight, wasn't critical. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." His calm approach allowed him to navigate the situation with clarity, without causing unnecessary stress for those around him. Why then do we sometimes feel the urge to share every little ailment? After all, does it always help to bring others into every small worry? The truth is that some health concerns are simply part of aging or the normal course of life, and worrying about them before knowing the full picture can create unnecessary panic. Isn't it wiser to wait until there's a clear cause for concern? A woman also faces similar health issues. She's been feeling fatigued and has a slight headache that lasts for a few days. Could it be something serious, like a chronic illness? The temptation is there to call her children or mention it to her spouse, but she holds off. She drinks more water, gets extra rest, and soon the headache passes. Had she shared this minor discomfort with her family, they might have become overly concerned, not knowing that it was nothing more than a short-term issue. As Epicurus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it, that matters. Her choice to manage it without immediate alarm helped her avoid unnecessary worry and kept the atmosphere at home peaceful. But what if something truly serious arises? Of course, in those situations, transparency is crucial. But how often do we elevate minor discomforts into full-blown crises in our minds? Could we, instead, learn to differentiate between issues that require action and those that simply need patience? By doing so, we might spare ourselves and our families unnecessary stress. Next time you face a health concern that doesn't seem urgent, ask yourself, is this something that truly requires immediate attention, or is it just a passing discomfort? Do you need to share this with your loved ones, or could you handle it calmly and privately? By practicing patience and self-reflection, you can avoid turning a small worry into a bigger issue for both yourself and your family. Sometimes, the best course of action is simply to wait, breathe, and allow time to ease the concern. Number 5. Conflicts with extended family. Conflicts with extended family are as old as families themselves. They can arise from a variety of issues, differing opinions, misunderstandings, or past grievances. And while it's natural to want to resolve these conflicts, sometimes it's wiser to keep certain details to ourselves, particularly when they're not critical or could make things worse. A woman recently found herself at odds with her cousin over a family event. The disagreement wasn't about anything life-altering. It was over seating arrangements for a family reunion. Yet, it escalated into an argument that left both sides feeling hurt. Rather than airing the dispute publicly or getting others involved, she chose to keep the details within her circle of close family and let time calm the situation. By doing so, she avoided turning a small disagreement into a larger family rift. After a few weeks, her cousin reached out, apologizing for the misunderstanding. If she had immediately involved everyone else, the story might have grown out of proportion, causing unnecessary stress for others. Isn't it tempting, though, to vent to someone about every little conflict? But think about it. How many times have we told others about an argument, only to later wish we hadn't? Often, keeping things private can give us the perspective we need to resolve the issue without further complications. The philosopher Epicurus once said, "We cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them." In this case, by choosing not to spread the conflict, she allowed herself the space to handle the situation with composure and maturity. Of course, there are situations where sharing a conflict might be necessary, especially if it affects your immediate well-being. But many times, keeping it within the family or even to oneself can prevent drama from spiraling out of control. Have you ever noticed how a small issue grows exponentially when too many voices get involved? Is it worth drawing in the entire extended family over something that can be resolved with patience and a simple conversation? Another man dealt with a similar issue when he disagreed with his brother over family traditions. His initial instinct was to call his mother to discuss the issue, but instead, he took a step back and reflected on whether it was worth bringing up. He realized that family traditions, though important, often evolve. His brother's opinion wasn't meant to challenge tradition, but to add to it. Instead of stirring the pot, he decided to let things be. In time, his brother approached him to discuss ways they could blend the old and new traditions, creating a compromise that suited everyone. Had he gotten others involved prematurely, things might have become more contentious, with no room for the peaceful resolution that followed. So the next time a conflict with extended family arises, ask yourself, is this really something that needs to be shared with everyone, or can it be resolved quietly between the parties involved? Sometimes discretion and patience are the wisest tools for maintaining peace and harmony within a family. How much do you value the tranquility of your family relationships over the desire to be right in every situation? In the long run, quiet resolution often proves to be the most valuable approach. Number 6. Mistakes or regrets that don't impact the present. We all have a few mistakes or regrets tucked away in the back of our minds, often hidden even from the people closest to us. But what if we told you that many of these regrets, while painful at the time, don't truly impact our present lives in any meaningful way? Sometimes the best way to handle them is to keep them private and not let them define us or stir unnecessary turmoil in the family. Take the case of a woman who once regretted not pursuing an art career, choosing instead a more stable path. She kept this regret to herself for years, fearing it might disappoint her family, who had always emphasized practicality. But as the years passed, she realized that her choice had led her to other meaningful experiences and opportunities, even if it wasn't the artistic life she had imagined. Her decision to keep this regret hidden from her children allowed her to focus on the life she built, rather than dwell on what could have been. This story highlights a Stoic truth. It's not the past that matters, but how we use the present. Epicurus said, "We are disturbed not by what happens to us, but by our thoughts about what happens." When we obsess over past mistakes, we're giving them power over our current happiness. But are those regrets worth sharing if they don't serve a purpose? Why let the past clutter the future? Another man found himself regretting a missed opportunity to travel when he was younger. Instead of airing this regret to his family, he chose to quietly plan future adventures. He recognized that while he couldn't change the past, he still had the power to shape the future. Did his regret hinder his present life? Not at all. It was a reminder to live more fully today, rather than get lost in a what-if that was already long gone. How many of us waste precious time regretting the past when there's so much left to live? Here's where the real insight comes. Often, regrets that don't impact the present are better kept private, because sharing them can create unnecessary burdens or concern among loved ones. If the regret has no bearing on the decisions or dynamics of your current life, is it necessary to bring it up? Wouldn't it be wiser to focus on making the best of the present and future? In these instances, silence can be a form of wisdom. By keeping certain regrets to ourselves, we spare our family from unnecessary emotional weight. In some cases, these regrets may even fade with time as new experiences take their place. So, when was the last time you allowed yourself to let go of something that was only holding you back? Could sharing an old regret truly enhance your relationships, or would it only add to the clutter of life's challenges? Sometimes it's the ability to move forward without sharing every past mistake that creates the space for new, better moments to unfold. So, how do you choose to carry your past with you? Will you allow old regrets to shape your present, or will you keep them tucked away where they belong? No. 7. Personal goals that are still in progress. Sometimes we have personal goals that are still in progress, goals that we're actively working toward, but haven't yet reached. These aspirations are deeply personal, and while they drive us forward, they can also bring up feelings of vulnerability. So when is it wise to keep these goals to ourselves and not share them with family members? A woman, well into her 60s, had always dreamed of writing a book. For years, she worked on it in the quiet moments of her day, but she never spoke about it to her children or friends. Why? Because the process was still a work in progress, and she didn't want to deal with their expectations or unsolicited advice. She wanted to move at her own pace, without the pressure of others watching. She wasn't ready to share the journey. She just wanted to let it unfold quietly, in her own time. And of course, when she finally finished that book, it was all the more meaningful because it came from her heart, untouched by the opinions of others. There's wisdom in keeping some personal goals under wraps until they're fully realized. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "Do not act as if you had 10,000 years to live." The pursuit of personal growth can be a quiet, private journey. The question is, how often do we feel compelled to share our goals before they're fully formed? Is it because we seek validation or want others to believe in our potential? Yet sometimes the best progress happens in solitude, where expectations don't distract us. Take another man who decided to learn a new language later in life. He kept this goal to himself, practicing quietly, rather than broadcasting his intentions to his family. Why? He feared that if he failed, they would notice. And he didn't want that. Sometimes, when we're unsure of the outcome, sharing prematurely can add unnecessary pressure. Wouldn't it be better to succeed in silence and surprise others with the result? Not every goal is ready for the spotlight right away, and that's okay. Is it possible that by keeping some personal ambitions to ourselves, we can protect them from becoming burdensome to others or even to ourselves? It's a delicate balance. Sharing too early can invite judgment, while waiting until the right time can allow us to refine our vision without outside interference. So when you think about the goals you're working on, ask yourself, what's more important, sharing every step along the way or savoring the progress in peace? Do we truly need others' approval to keep going? Or is it enough to keep the pursuit alive within ourselves, trusting that one day we'll share the outcome when the time is right? Perhaps the Stoic insight here is that some goals are better nurtured quietly. They may evolve more organically without outside influence. What might happen if you let your goals unfold without the pressure of having to explain them to others? Would you be able to achieve them more freely with fewer distractions? To wrap up, we've explored several important reasons why keeping certain things secret from your family can be a wise choice. From protecting personal goals that are still in progress, to avoiding unnecessary conflicts and managing regrets, the Stoic approach teaches us to prioritize peace of mind and personal growth over external approval. By staying focused on what truly matters to us, we can avoid the distractions that come from others' opinions and judgments. As we've seen, the journey toward personal fulfillment is often best navigated quietly, without unnecessary pressures. So how can you apply these lessons to your own life? Maybe there's a goal you're quietly working on, or a decision you haven't shared yet because it's still too early. Trust that in due time, the right moment will come for you to share your progress on your terms. Reflect on this. How often do you find yourself seeking validation from others? What if you focused more on cultivating your self-worth instead? Let these insights inspire you to take action, embracing silence and patience as part of your growth process. I'd love to hear your thoughts and personal experiences. Have you kept any goals or decisions secret from your family? What impact did it have on your journey? Share your reflections in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to Stoic Narratives Official for more insights on living a Stoic life. Keep growing, keep learning, and until next time.